Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Jeff and Jeff here on Orange Bloods Live, brought to you by the guys over at Groggy Dog. They're a full-service promotional products company, schools, businesses, embroidery, you name it, they will do it for you with the best customer service in the business. Jeff is with Groggy Dog. You can go to the website, groggydogonline.com. Just know, reach out to Jeff on any business that you or your company again, or your school, whatever it is that you might be in the business for. Let them hold your hand and like take you through the process in a way that makes you feel really, really good and makes you want to stay with them forever. That is the goal.
Yes, sir.
Jeff,
What he said.
we're just cranking them out now because it's one game after another.
I know.
It was like Arkansas was hours ago, and it was a few days ago, but Kentucky looms. Final home game of the season. We'll be doing the thing that we do all season long. 5 things we're looking for in this game. This doesn't feel for me like a game with a ton of jeopardy. I just struggle with anything could happen that would cause Texas to lose this game. It's kind of about the standard and kind of just how high of a standard they reach. So most of the themes for me this week will really be about establishing something that they're going to need in the next couple of weeks against Texas A&M. And then, you know, if they can get to an SEC championship game, maybe against Alabama. Wow, that would be something in year one of the SEC. That's where a lot of my focus will be.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you as far as the it's me, not you, right, philosophy for this week, and kind of our 5 things and our takes. Like you said, it's about what Texas can do. It's about momentum. It's about stacking a good game, you know, on top of another good game, and being ready to hit your peak when you roll into College Station here in just a few days. I mean, the only thing, again, PTSD, lived through the Strong era and the Herman era and the end of the Mac era. The only thing is turnovers, right? That's the one bugaboo I think that could bite the Longhorns. But I really think if Texas takes care of the ball and doesn't give Kentucky short fields, then we're looking at probably a 20 to 24 point win.
Wow. Well, lead us off with number 1 today.
Number 1, I want to see the offensive line just assert their dominance and again get to a place where they feel like going into College Station that they can not only protect Quinn but also create some success in the run game. Kentucky's D-line, they're solid. I mean, they're a quality defensive team. They're front 7. They've got some Sunday players, to use a Jeff Ketchum term. So let's see if we can block them up and see if we can get that run game going and feel like the offensive line is to a point where they're going to be able to go into A&M and not only hold their own, but give Texas an advantage.
Well, the strength of this Kentucky team is the interior of its defensive line. It's kind of the defensive line as a whole. So this is, for me, a big Jake Majors, Hayden Connor, DJ Campbell game. Interestingly enough, DJ Campbell had, at least in Alex's grades that came out today over on orangebloods.com, the highest rated offensive line game from last week against Arkansas. Now that comes with a bit of an asterisk because Kelvin Banks gets caught up in a couple of sack situations that I don't know were certainly entirely.
Yeah, the self-sack, as I've been saying all week.
I want to see this interior of the offensive line. You think back to the games they played against Michigan. You think back to the game that they played against Oklahoma, games where it felt like they were going to be challenged in that area, and they really responded well, not so much against Georgia. So this is probably, with all due respect to Florida and Arkansas, who both have SEC athletes, this feels like a bigger challenge for that group up front. So I'm with you on number 1, actually. If I had the first pick, I think I probably would have been thinking along the same lines as you. If I go to number 2, it's so funny. We don't worry about the defense a lot. And I'm not going to start with my number 2 either. I wanted to point out when we start really thinking about the things that we want to see. It feels like we can take for granted what we're going to see from the defense, and so we don't often speak.
Which makes me a little nervous. Because again, they're a busted coverage away from being down 14 points.
It's not going to be this week. Kentucky.
I don't think Kentucky has the weapons to test them. Again, I'll go back to what I said kind of in my opening statement. Turnovers are the one thing that puts Texas in jeopardy. But
or my number one this week, I'm just going to say special teams in general. That group,
a good one, Kedge. Yes.
That group has not been very good this season. They've been okay. The punting game's bad. The kicking game, kickoffs are good.
Yes.
But the return game really hasn't had
Juice.
The big explosive moments. This phase of the game a year ago was a real strength for Texas.
Mm-hmm.
They are, at best, from the analytic standpoint of special teams, very mediocre. There are some analytics that have Texas kind of in the back of the pack with regards to overall strength of special teams play this season. And it's kind of true. You start thinking about, well, what are the biggest special teams plays of the season?
You have to really think.
Slim pickings.
Yes.
This isn't the year where it's like, oh, this guy's blocked a couple of punts. Or, a year ago, Xavier Worthy was so good on returns. It was one of the better punt return seasons that Texas has had in a while. They got Matthew Golden, and I think the thought was this is an all-conference level return guy. He'll keep the play. It just hasn't happened. And I would say a guy like Matthew Golden, Texas doesn't get a lot of kickoff returns.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't give up a lot of points. There's not a lot of kickoffs. But I'd like to just see this. So there's not any one area of special teams that I would say against Kentucky that I want to see. It'd be easy to say. I'd love to see the
Let me kind of elaborate on your number two there, special teams. In order for Texas to win the SEC championship and win the national championship, special teams is going to have to be an elite level. Now, is that an elite level all the time? Probably not, but they're going to have to make.
Well, does it though? Because it hasn't been.
Yeah, they're going to have to make some.
They're 9-1.
Yeah, but they're going to have to make some plays. I think it could come down to a block punt or a punt return that sets them up to score in a close game, or Bert Auburn has a 3-for-3 game where he kicks a 51-yarder and does it, doesn't look like my golf swing and slice it way left, So I think special teams there's going to come a time, hopefully as we hit the postseason.
I would just like for when the game is over, for us to not have to look at the stats to know whether or not Texas won the special teams battle, and just be able to walk out of the stadium feeling like
about it. Yes,
they won special teams today. And it feels like too often this season, at best, you're like, well, let me look and see what the punting averages were. And you're like, oh, wished I hadn't looked. And then, there just hasn't been that emphatic that they won that third phase today. And it's possible that they'll be perfectly fine if they don't, if being mid on special teams is just the way it's going to be this year. They're not bad, although there are some metrics that say they're not good. Yeah. I just would like, before going into A&M, where I think that's going to be a real important part of that game, I'd like to see that group thrive a little bit, get a little momentum going into an A&M game where that game could literally be decided by what happens on special teams.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's going to take some big plays in that phase of the game because, there's going to be a lot more things equal.
Hey, Jeff, I just want to take a moment while everybody's watching the video.
Okay.
I want us to pat each other on the back, just metaphorically speaking. Okay. We are 2 sections into our 5 things that we want to see. No Quinn Ewers, no quarterback yet. Somehow we're up to. I'm not saying we're getting to 5 without. Yeah,
but we made it through 2.
I just want to say that it's not. We're up to number 3, and we didn't go number 3 yet.
And I was And
I
I'll
feel
give
kind
you
of proud. I feel
yeah,
like we've
that's right. Look at us.
oh,
Look at us.
Vegas is really
Hey, you
upset
don't
with
get
us
this
'cause
type
they
of
decided to do
analysis on anywhere but Orange Bloods Live, right? I mean, you got to come to the
I'm just
source.
saying,
Yeah,
like
that's right.
somehow we made it here, and I didn't think it
Nice.
was possible. So congrats to
Nice.
us. Number 3.
Isaiah Bond, get him some touches.
Yeah.
Like, dude's a first round graded NFL wide receiver. In every mock draft you look, every time you're talking about Texas players at the top of the draft, he's right there. And again, I know teams are going to try to scheme and take him out, but here's my thing with Quinn Ewers and Isaiah Bond, they are too good to be taken out of the game, and he's an unfair advantage that the Longhorns have. So let's figure out a way to get him the ball a few more times, whether that's a deep shot in space, on a jet sweep, on a reverse. Let's put the ball in his hands and let 007 go to work. That's my 3.
All right, I'm going Quinn Ewers, number 4.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of hand in hand. Quinn's got to get it to.
Look, I was fully transparent a minute and a half ago when I said we would not get to number 5.
You did. You said that.
Without Quinn Ewers being discussed.
Okay, before you get to Quinn, what are your thoughts on Bond? I mean, are you tracking with Bond? I mean, that's
yes.
Okay.
If you were to ask me what the number one thing in the passing game I would like from a personnel standpoint, I would like for Isaiah Bond to have a big game and just feel like he and Quinn are in tip-top form together going into – look, the A&M game is the biggest A&M game maybe in the history of the rivalry. And
definitely in the last 40
worst,
years.
it's top 3.
Yeah.
So it's a huge game. And I'd like –
I want that to be on film.
What's that?
I want it to be on film. I want Elko and, everybody else to worry about Bond and know, how dangerous he is. Because
it's all about peaking.
Yes.
It's about ascending. And so you can't peak in the A&M game if you don't start to – I mean, I guess it could come out of nowhere. But I'd like every position on the field for Texas. You want to feel like, okay, that group's playing well going into next week. I think that's really important. I just
all right, go with Quinn, number 4.
So look, there's a lot of ways that you could approach the discussion with Quinn. Whenever it's funny, it's never been a thing ever before on Orange Bloods. I do the quarter by quarter rating. It's just something that I do on game days.
Yeah.
I've been doing it for years.
Yeah,
Nobody's ever made a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
This year, people are making a big deal out of it. And people are like, I don't even know why you do it. It's like sometimes this doesn't say. And the thing is, I was like, you know what? Those people could be right. It could be that these things don't matter and that it is a meaningless stat. And so I was open-minded about it. Thing that I noticed, and I looked through 200 quarters of sample size using quarterbacks all over the country.
Yeah.
When these sub 100 quarters happen, which of his last 20 quarters, since he's come back, he's played 5 games, 20 quarters. 9 of them have been at a sub 100 level. And people, there are people who want to say that just doesn't matter. What I would say matters about it, and this is consistent across the country with all of the best quarters. I'm talking more than 80%. When an offense has a quarter that bad in the passing game, they don't score touchdowns. And that's a big deal. Yeah. So when we talk about, last week in the second and the third quarters, in both of those quarters, he had a sub 100 quarterback rating. What did that mean? Well, it meant for a 30-minute stretch in that game, and more than that, because you get to go back to when they scored in the first quarter, when they scored in the fourth quarter, but bear with me.
Mhm.
They scored a field goal in the second quarter, and they scored a field goal in the third quarter. And the next thing you know, they're in the fourth quarter, and it's a one-score game, and just one more touchdown. Of those 9 quarters that Quinn Ewers has been at sub 100, Texas has not scored a touchdown in 8 of them. So all week long, I've stressed Quinn. I don't need Quinn to have more 200 rating quarters. He actually gets a lot of those. I need his non-elite quarters to just not be terrible.
Yeah.
Because if he can be above 100, statistically, the sample size shows your offense can still score touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
And this offense needs to be able to be a touchdown threat in all 4 quarters of games moving forward. You're not going to win an SEC championship game if you're throwing away half the game and you're saying probably won't score touchdowns in those quarters. And only one of those was a fourth quarter where you could go to the Oklahoma fourth quarter and say, you know what, he played most of the fourth quarter. He didn't have a high rating. They didn't score a touchdown. And you'd go, they were just running out the clock. So it does take into account
Florida.
It didn't play in the fourth quarter of Florida.
Yeah, that's true.
Technically, he's only played 19 quarters since he returned,
Mm-hmm.
and it's 9 of 19, and not 9 of 20.
Yeah,
not a huge statistical uptick, but it just further kind of cements. And 7 of those are 200 or above. So in 16 of his 19 quarters, he's either at one wildly poor extreme or one wildly successful stream. And what we don't see a lot of is, at least since he's returned, is something in the middle.
Yeah.
If his worst quarters can just be kind of average,
yes,
but productive, and the offense is finding a way to get into the end zone, and that becomes the new minimum, instead of, look, last Saturday in the third quarter of that game, I don't know about everybody else, but I was like, it's been a while since Texas scored a touchdown.
It felt like it. I mean,
they just keep hanging. The defense is dominating.
Yes.
And it was like, put this freaking game away.
Yeah, why are we not up 21 points?
And what I mean? The other thing is, my other stat, and then we'll move on.
Okay.
In his last 5 games, Quinn has had 4 out of the 5 games. The only game that this didn't happen was in the Florida game. And the other 4 games since his return, he's had at least 2 quarters of sub 100 play in each game. There's not another quarterback in the country whose name that you would want to say out loud and say, this is a guy that we should compare Quinn Ewers to. All the good quarterbacks. There's not one that even has more than 1. Same stretch, last 5 games, essentially last month and a half of this season. Quinn's got 4. Nobody else has 1. Most either have none, or there were 3 other guys that had fourth quarters where their quarterback rating was low, where the team was just trying to run the clock out. But nobody has more than 1, and Quinn has 4. So his bad has got to be a little less bad and just a little more average. Just don't let your valleys go so far below sea level that, you start hurting your ears.
There you go.
Just
hang
around sea level.
Yeah.
Just sea level. Or
keep your head above water, Quinn.
And you know what? Water. You can even take your head underwater. Just don't go all the way down to the bottom of the basement.
Quit deep diving.
Yes.
Yes.
No scuba diving.
Yeah, we don't need it.
If you want to snorkel,
no scuba Steve.
Snorkel away. But no scuba diving. Yes. Okay, that's my number 4.
My number 5 is I'll say this. Who's it going to be? And here's how this is where I'm going with this. I feel like there's the talent development at Texas and the roster, the depth. There's so many good players, and we've seen this staff develop players that we're at this point in the season where there's going to be a guy, there's going to be a player that makes a play or a handful of plays that really either have a major effect on the game or turn the tide of the game, or just someone that we're not talking about. Right. I don't know if that's Jelani McDonald.
You want one more wild card badass.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm curious to see who that will be. I mean, is that Kobe Black? I mean, he's been getting more reps. Does he make a play? Is it Ty Anthony Smith? Is it right? Who is it that we haven't talked about collectively, right? That is going to make a big play and assert himself either in this Kentucky game or, moving it forward to the A&M game or down the road in the postseason. I mean, who's it going to be? And again, that's kind of a nod, tip of the cap to the player development piece and the roster depth is there's players there that are gonna have an impact, and we're gonna be sitting there going, damn, here we go. So that's my fifth. Who's it gonna be?
Well, look, I think we're forever going to think that Ryan Wingo could be that guy.
Yes, because he's kind of
it's not happening.
Yeah, for whatever reason. Yeah.
But we're going to believe all the way until the season ends. If I told you, hey, breakout game for Wingo this weekend, you're not going, no way.
Yeah, no.
You're going, okay, I've been waiting for that.
Yes, I've been waiting 5 weeks for it.
So I think he's the obvious one.
Yeah.
I'd say here's my sneaky one.
Okay.
And it's a duo, actually.
Okay.
Juan Davis, because that guy's gonna have a big, I think Sark would say he had a big catch last week.
Oh, yeah, that was a big play.
But I mean, I think he could have he could score against A&M in a big game.
Yeah. Okay, I like that.
And Amari Niblack in the same vein.
Oh, yes.
I think there's still a feeling that he's going to be really good.
Yeah.
That it hasn't happened this season, but I don't think anybody thinks it's not going to work out for him.
Uh-huh. Okay. See, I like that. I like that.
There, if you believe that this season still has 3, 4, 5, 6 more games left in it.
Hell yeah, it does, Catch.
Then I think by that time,
yes, good point.
I'd see Niblack
or Davis, yeah,
or a combination of the two,
yeah.
Where every week it's like, well, those guys combined to catch 3 or 4 passes, and if that's happening, you're probably getting in the end zone on occasional one of those. And I think that when we talk about how do you improve the passing game, how do you get more out of it than they've been able to do it? I mean, if those two guys started combining for 3 or 4 catches a game and it doesn't take away from Gunnar Helm,
yes,
it feels like you've added a threat that, quite frankly, as we get ready to go into week 11 of the season, you and I aren't having a lot of Juan Davis, Amari Niblack conversations. So I think you mentioned the guys on defense that are the obvious ones. Kobe.
Well, I'm going to go one more on defense. I thought about this as you were talking. Sadir Mitchell?
No.
Okay. Not enough run, not enough rep.
I just don't believe it. Like, okay. I think he falls into the category of head coach wants to make sure that he keeps that guy motivated and
out of the portal.
Yeah. And more times than not, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, you're right.
Usually the first sign. It was right about the time, a week before Jonte Cook put his name into the portal. Yeah. Sarkisian was saying, we really got to find a way to get Jonte Cook back on track. It's like
by Wednesday of that week, he's in the portal.
Well, you're the offensive coordinator, coach. Like, there's one person that can really make that happen. Yes. It's you, and you haven't. And so,
all right. Well, let's defensively, McDonald.
Look how smart we'll look though. If Niblack were to have a big game,
or Davis,
we're going to be able to go. You know what, Jeff and Jeff? That's the only place.
And you know what we can do next week? We'll just turn on the camera and just walk away. And just say, we're good. We nailed it.
Be like, now you guys won. You guys now And if it doesn't hit, we'll just talk about Quinn Ewers next week, and then we'll pretend We'll just wait. We'll wait till it hits, and then
Yes.
we'll act like
Then
it never
we'll walk
happened if
away.
it doesn't.
I
Guys,
got
do
you,
a
Cash.
solid like, comment, subscribe to
Please.
the page. We do
Yep.
appreciate that. And I just need to remind you guys, the video brought to you every single week from groggydogonline.com. They're a full service promotional products company, which means if your business or your school or your team, they need promotional stuff, they need embroidery, you need to order a big job, and you know what I'm talking about. You got to order the big t-shirt job or the jackets job, or your team needs uniforms or whatever the case may be. Groggy Dog is the home in the state of Texas for this specific kind of work. You can go to the website, groggydogonline.com. There's like literally a promotional tour that will walk you through the process. You can go to the contact us page. You can literally find Jeff's contact information, reach out to him, reach out to anybody. They pride themselves on elite level customer service. And the only way that they can prove that is if you let them prove it to you. So reach out to Groggy Dog Online. Know if you've got a big order coming around, it's the end of 2024 or early 2025. Give them a chance. Let them give you a quote. And the worst thing that can happen is you go, no, I don't think so. But it might just be that you find exactly the partner that you've been looking for, just like we feel that way as well. So groggydogonline.com. Reach out to the superstar, Jeff Bowerman, and let him wow you with his Texas football information.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
For Jeff and Jeff, until next week when
let's go.
House divided on Jeff and Jeff.
Yeah.
Until next time when the game really matters. You guys have a great weekend. Here's to the Longhorns going 10-1. Here's to a phenomenal performance. Hook 'em, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Later.
Sure. See you.